Welcome to the John and Heidi Show podcast.
John and Heidi.
Here's John and Heidi.
Thanks for listening to the John and Heidi Show on a Friday. Hey, baby, how you doing?
I'm good. It's Friday.
It is Friday. That is a very good thing. So very, very exciting. It's also St. Patrick's Day, so we're going to chat about that and all the other fun stuff here in a bit. But I've got my quote. We'll start with that. It is from Albert Einstein. He's kind of a smart dude.
Kind of.
Creativity is intelligence having fun.
There you go.
I like that. Speaking of things I like, I got a great guest coming up today. Since it's St. Patty's Day, we're going to talk about the green. Going to talk about money. Oh, yeah, we've got Jordan Goodman, America's Money Answers Man, coming up later in the program. So could be talking about gold, could be talking about green. We're going to talk about something anyway, but that's coming up later. Hey, I wonder if you would agree with this. According to the National Restaurant Association, the other NRA, 93% of Americans eat pizza at least once a month. Do you think that's accurate?
Oh, yeah.
Do we eat pizza once a month?
At least.
It's almost once a week in our house.
Yeah, when they say at least, yes,
yeah,
at
that
least.
pretty much covers us. And this is interesting. A recent study shows that caffeine does not dehydrate your body as many athletes have long believed. So next time they say that, say, no, that's wrong. That's wrong. Coming up, special stuff going on today. We'll tell you all about it in a bit.
John and Heidi.
Today is a special day, Heidi. Do you know what today is?
What is today, John?
I thought you'd never ask. It is Friday, the 17th day of March. Today is St. Patrick's Day. It's actually a fun day for a lot of people, isn't it?
I love St. Patrick's Day.
Now, your family has some Irish people.
A lot of Irish, yes.
McGowan.
McGowan
That's
is
Irish.
my grandparents'
And
my grandfather's
Murnan?
last name, and Murnan was my grandmother's last name. So I am
Heidi's
50% Irish.
She's somewhere
Yeah.
in there, 50% or 22.5%. I don't know. I've never done the math.
That's where I get my temper.
It's National Irish Coffee Day today, too. So today's a good day
Love
for that.
Irish coffee.
And it's National Day of Action Against Bullying and Violence Day. So I'm not sure how that fell on today's date, but there it is. All of that and much, much more going on this Friday, the 17th day of March.
John and Heidi.
Hey, it's John and Heidi. Join us for 80s in the Sand, a week-long 80s event this November 11th through the 18th in beautiful Punta Cana in the Dominican Republic.
Meet and listen to 80s bands like Loverboy, Starship, Howard Jones, and many more.
Plus, meet 80s icons from the movies like Anthony Michael Hall, Andrew McCarthy, and several others.
Get all the details at 80sinthesand.com.
Use promo code RADIO to get a $200 immediate refund per person.
Book your week-long 80s vacation now at 80sinthesand.com.
You know it's true because you heard it on the radio. Have you ever had an awful experience at a drive-through speaker? I've had those where they don't understand what you're saying and you don't understand what they're saying.
I suppose.
It's been a little while since I've had that, but there's people right now that are really concerned. They're thinking that maybe we've got problems coming because coming soon to many restaurant drive-through speakers, you're going to be talking to somebody who's not even there. And it's not happening everywhere, but sometime it may. McDonald's is one of the companies that's now outsourcing their drive-through orders.
Oh, man.
They're using remote call centers staffed by professionals with very strong communication skills to take your order. Then they relay that to the cooks at the McDonald's where you're in line. They think this will speed the line and boost their accuracy. Their CEO says, if you're in LA and you hear a person with like a Midwest accent taking your order, you'll know what we're up to. So I think that's actually not a bad idea. Because when you're in the restaurant...
Well, at least it's still people and it's not a machine.
Yeah. When you're in the restaurant, there are things
I hate talking to those machines. They're trying to understand you. Did you say...
You know the ones that I don't like?
I didn't.
Here's the thing. Oh, that's funny. There's actually there's a video online of a couple trying... They have a southern accent and they were trying to order something or whatever it was and it never got it right.
I hate that. And it happens all the time. I'm calling into places and you say it and it's like, did you say? And it gets it completely wrong.
Here's the ones I don't like. The fake calls that pretend to be people.
Yeah.
And,
hey, sorry.
And I'll say, is this a computer? And I'll say, no, this is not a computer. And then they rattle back on. And then I'll say something completely ridiculous like, do zebras wear underwear? And then they'll say, I don't understand you. And then they'll start talking again. So that's what you do. If you want to have fun, mess with those computers. Ask them dumb things like, how many giraffes would it take to fill a swimming pool?
Some of us have work to do.
Oh, come on. It's fun to do that. Oh, yeah, we do have work to do. We'll get back to it. Anyway, this whole thing that we talked about, it's true because you heard it on the radio.
John and Heidi.
The John and Heidi Show is brought to you in part by the Keystone Treatment Center.
This is your brain, and this is your brain on drugs. We share silly stories here on the program, but addiction is no joke. If you or someone you know suffers with an addiction to drugs or alcohol, make today the day you seek help.
Call toll-free 844-204-1055.
That's a toll-free number. Again,
844-204-1055.
and this is your brain on drugs. Steve Schwartzmiller, the chief of police in New Regal, Ohio, was awakened at 2:30 in the morning to the sound of somebody breaking through his front door.
Oh, bad
That's
idea.
never good. He grabbed his service sidearm and went to investigate. He found a man sitting at his piano playing it quite well, actually. The man told the chief, "Hey, I need a ride." And he got a ride
To jail.
to jail in a patrol car. The young man was 19-year-old Sean Chadwell. He was charged with burglary and underage drinking. Officer says Chadwell was looking for a party and he got the wrong house.
Yeah, did he
So,
ever?
He definitely got the wrong house. I mean,
Poor kid. I mean, he was just trying to get to the party.
why was he playing a piano? I mean, if you...
And he must not have broken it. I mean, you wouldn't break a window or something to get into a party, so he must have...
I don't know
the
what happened.
Must have left the door open
I
if the
don't
kid
know.
just walked into his house and sat down to play the piano.
It doesn't say that he just opened the door and came in. It says that he heard the sounds of somebody breaking in his front door. So I don't know if this guy really thought the party was there. Who knows? Anyway, that's what happens when your brain is on drugs.
John and Heidi.
Oh, this story is your moment of duh. And this guy, even though I want to say he's goofy, he's not quite goofy. He's more Pluto. Recent holdup at a convenience store in Cranberry, Pennsylvania. Like I said, wasn't goofy. It was Pluto. Local police said the robber entered a store wearing a mask of the Disney dog Pluto. Where would you even get one of these? Have you seen a Pluto mask?
Yeah, I've
Have
seen
you?
them. Yeah.
I've never seen one. Pluto was armed as well. He had a pellet gun, but the clerk thought that it was a joke and laughed at him. The clerk said, "Hey, Pluto, what are you going to shoot me with that pellet gun?" That's when the clerk said the crook was like, "Oh, okay," and then walked away empty-handed.
Yeah, it was a joke if he only had a pellet gun.
So I'm not sure. Well, that would still hurt too, getting shot with a pellet, but not sure what the plan was exactly. Apparently he was hoping that the clerk didn't realize it was a pellet gun. It would be more distracted by the Pluto mask, but that didn't quite happen. And that's why that was our moment of duh on this St. Paddy's Day. Coming up, we've got your scoop of the day. Then we're going to talk with Jordan Goodman later in the program. He's America's Money Answers Man. So we're going to talk about the green today on St. Paddy's Day.
The scoop of the day is brought to you by Wells Blue Bunny. If you want delicious ice cream, be sure to look for the Blue Bunny. Sure to have your favorite flavors. Learn more at bluebunny.com.
Now your scoop of the day. The University of Minnesota has dropped the King and Queen names from their Royal Homecoming celebration.
Oh, good Lord.
Now they are just known as the Royals because apparently there were people upset by being
good
called
Lord.
King or Queen. I don't know. Hey, do you want to buy a
You
town?
wouldn't think
I don't know.
Queen would be an issue.
I don't think you want to buy a town, Heidi?
Sure.
We could buy Tiller, Oregon. It's for sale if you can cough up $3.85 million. But the good news is you'd own the whole town. So what would you think of that? Would you like
I
to
would
own your own
love to own a town.
town? Huh. I don't know if I'd really like to own a
I
town.
would. That would be awesome.
There's a man who was arrested for harassing Christians online. He's been banned from any church for 5 years. He should be going to a church. Maybe he'd quit doing it. But anyway, Robert Skinner, 55, hosts a YouTube channel called Christian Comedy Channel. It consists of videos mocking Christians and Christianity. So
Yeah, whatever. Knock yourself out, dude.
not exactly sure what the whole point of that is. So they have a link to that, but I'm not going to put it on our Facebook page.
No.
That doesn't sound like fun. Hey, the founder and the former member of a satanic church in Texas has converted to Christianity. Jacob
Maybe he should
McKelvey.
talk to this
That
other
was
guy.
Yeah. Formerly known as Jacob No, he was instrumental in bringing together a group of Luciferians to form a church. Back in February, he and his wife renounced their ties to the Luciferian church, and they became born-again Christians. So there you go. That's interesting. I do have a link to that story, by the way. Facebook.com/John and Heidi Show. Some conservatives who work in the entertainment industry say their political leanings have become a career liability these days. You know, the sad thing is, if you're in the entertainment industry, we shouldn't even know what your political leanings are.
I really don't want to, because
tell
you
me
know what?
jokes.
Honestly, there are many actors that I used to really like.
And then they came
that
out against
now
or for or whatever.
I do not at all, and I refuse to see their movies anymore.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. I think if you're a singer, sing. If you're a news person, tell the news without a slant. If you're a person who does, an actor, just act. Do that. And I mean, you don't need. And here we very strongly try to keep the political leanings away. Every once in a while, she'll say something that makes me laugh, but for the most part, I think that you should be able to make up your mind and decide what you want. I'm not going to try to cram things down your throat and tell you to believe the way we believe. I just don't think that's the way it should be.
But if you want someone to cram things down your throat, you can always give me a call. I'm very happy to help.
She'll help you. Hey, in Louisiana, an unidentified man broke into a home, went straight for the refrigerator, and started eating. The man ate an apple, some cookies, and then sat on the couch, poured himself some orange juice, and he even heated up a cup of clam chowder. Then he fell asleep naked in a bedroom. The homeowner's son found the man and called police.
You don't keep apples and cookies in the refrigerator.
Maybe they were next to it. So that's the part of that story that you noticed? You didn't notice the fact that he passed out naked in another room? Really?
Who doesn't get naked after milk and cookies?
Well,
I thought that was always just the next logical step.
If that's the case, then I'm going to have more milk and cookies around the house. She's my wife. I can say that. Hey, it is a scientific development that seems ripped off from the script of a movie, Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, but there's no telling yet if it could work in people. Researchers in Toronto say they can selectively erase fear memories from the brains of mice. So they're trying to maybe decide, can we do this now on people? If you could have specific memories erased, Heidi, would you want to do that? If you could say delete all the memories of this or delete all the memories of that, would you want to go for it?
No, I don't think so.
There are probably some things that I would be okay deleting. And I have friends who've had like very traumatic experiences. If they could go in and say, delete all of the time I spent, during this time of my life, I'm sure they would do it. I don't know why you wouldn't. I don't know that I would, because I think that everything that you go through for a reason. And I think it makes you who you are intended to be. So I don't know that I would change anything. See, there you go. And that's why you're married to me. So thanks for listening. I don't even know what that means. Thanks for listening to the John and Heidi Show.
John and Heidi.
Radio advertising works. When it's done right, it works even better. There are many things you can do to get a better response, and shouting sale really isn't the best thing, believe it or not. Did you know that when you put words to music, they're 9 times more memorable? If you're trying to get people to remember your company, consider a jingle. We work with one of the very best jingle companies in the business, and we'd love to use music to help you grow your company. Learn more and hear examples at RadioReallyWorks.com. That's RadioReallyWorks.com. And thanks for listening to the John and Heidi Show. I know on St. Patrick's Day, a lot of people are thinking, pots of gold. But when it comes to actual, real money, we've got the expert that we can chat with. We've got Jordan Goodman, America's Money Answers Man. How are you doing, sir?
Great to be with you. Happy St. Patrick's Day.
Yeah, and happy St. Patrick's Day to you as well. And today we're going to be talking a little bit about the green.
Whenever I'm around, there's a lot of green.
Awesome. Now, let's talk about what happened in the financial world on Wednesday.
So the Federal Reserve raised interest rates by a quarter point. So what they control is what's called the federal funds rate, and they raised that from 0.75 of a point to a point. They did that last December, but it looks likely they're going to raise rates another 2 and possibly another 3 times this year. So what that means is that kind of filters through the economy. So the Fed funds rate is now a full percentage point, which means the prime rate went from 3.75 up to 4%, which means that all the loans that you might have, credit cards, car loans, student loans, all those kind of things, which are tied to the prime rate, just went up by a quarter point, and will go up further as rates keep rising. So what you're paying on loans, John, is going up, but what you're receiving on your deposits is not going up. Okay, this is not a fair thing, but the banks feel they can get away with it, so they do. So even though you're having to pay more, you're not going to receive more in deposits. That's the way it's working.
All right. So that's not great news.
It's not great news if you're a depositor. There's something like $10 trillion sitting there in CDs, money market funds, savings accounts, pretty much earning zero. I bet a lot of your listeners are in exactly that circumstance. And they say, oh, this is great. The Fed's going to raise rates. I'll start earning something on my money. If you keep it in the bank, no, you're going to keep doing, pretty much zero. Now, there are alternatives for that. I mean, I've mentioned before, there's something called commercial real estate income funds, and that's a way of earning an 8% yield over minimum hold time 18 months. Get monthly checks, or you can reinvest the money back into that. Very, very safe. A website for that, commercialrealestateincomefunds.com. So you just don't have to be a victim and keep your money in the bank earning nothing. So there's an alternative right there that you're going to get 8 instead of 0.
Well, that's cool. So and I'll have that website on our Facebook page as well to make it really easy to find that.
Great.
With that change that happened Wednesday with the Fed rate, does that affect things on the stock market, or is that two completely different things?
Well, it does affect things on the stock market, but what's been amazing is we've had this huge rise in the stock market since the election, despite rising rates from the Fed. Now, when I told you a year ago that the Fed was going to raise rates 3 times in 2017, the stock market would have plummeted, like, oh my God, that's the worst possible thing. But now, because it's considered a sign of confidence in the economy, it's actually not so bad. So the stock market's been rising even though interest rates have been rising, and the prospect is for further rate increases. Think of it as the Fed having confidence enough in the economy growing that it's actually positive for the stock market. When you have more employment and more jobs and more investment, it's all good for stocks. So it's a completely different environment than a year ago when rising rates would have been a killer. Now it's actually considered positive.
Wow. Now, something else that we don't talk a whole lot about, insurance, but that's something that is absolutely tied to finances as well. And there's been a big change with healthcare insurance, and there's more changes to come. How will that affect things on the financial side?
Huge. And we don't know exactly what's going to come out. Now, the Republicans have put forward their what they're going to replace Obamacare with. Even within the Republican Party, there's a huge divide. The conservative, kind of far conservative ones don't like it because they call it Obamacare light, which to them is an insult. That's not a compliment. So we'll have to see. But I mean, basically what they're talking about doing is getting rid of all the mandates to buy insurance, the mandates for employers to cover their employees. All those kind of things are going to go away. They're talking about having tax credits to help people buy insurance instead of subsidies. Do away with the exchanges. I mean, it's a massive, massive change job. Healthcare is about 20% of the economy, and so this has to be done right. And we're just at the beginning of this whole process because who knows what's going to come out the other end. It's very, very controversial. And, of course, the Democrats are completely against any change whatsoever. So, unfortunately, this is going to be completely a partisan effort, just as it was before. Remember when Obamacare was passed in 2009, Republicans did not support it one iota. So now it's going to be the same. The Democrats are not going to support anything whatsoever, any change of any kind. So they're going to kind of ram it through in a partisan way.
And the sad thing is, we elect all those people to go out and represent us, and then it's like they get out there and they act like children. So
it would be nice if something as major as healthcare they could agree on.
Yeah.
But they have such completely opposite views. I mean, the Republicans want to put it back in the private sector. They want to have competition across state lines. They want people to save for their health care using what are called HSAs, health savings accounts. They want to be able to choose your own doctor and so on and not have these rigid networks. There's a lot of good things about what they're talking about. But there's a lot of people that are going to lose their health insurance as well because they're going to give a lot less money to the states for Medicaid expansion, for example. And by 2020, that'll go away completely. And each state would be able to do what it wants. So they're going to have very, very big differences between the states. So it's a very big political situation. And if they don't get this right, John, I think people are going to be very angry if they lose their health insurance, which they now consider an entitlement. So that could have political repercussions in 2 years as well.
I agree completely. It'll be interesting to see what happens. Well, Jordan, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with us on St. Patrick's Day. If people would like to learn more, you've got a website. What is the website they can go to find out more about you?
Moneyanswers.com. And I get emails from folks all the time. I'm glad to help them on any aspect of personal finance at moneyanswers.com, an appropriate website on the day of greed.
There you go. Well, thank you again, sir. You have a great day.
All right. Thank you, John.
Again, Jordan Goodman is America's Money Answers man, and we talk to him on this program about once a month, usually get a little update mid-month to find out how things are looking in the world, at least the financial world. And if you would like to know more, I'll give you his website once again. It is moneyanswers.com. Thanks for listening to The John and Heidi Show.
John and Heidi.
Many people go to college, but when they graduate, they've racked up a ton of debt. Not everyone, though. Matthew Einstein saved over $70,000 on a top-rate education. Then, after everyone wanted to know how he did it, he built a system to show you how to do it, too. Learn how you can use his system for yourself or for your kids. Go to freeeducationuniversity.com. Watch a few videos there for free. Sign up now and get a free 60-minute private consultation with Matthew. That's freeeducationuniversity.com. Use promo code radio20 to save 20%.
John and Heidi.
Fun fact for you, Heidi.
What's that, John?
Anne Boleyn, Queen Elizabeth's mother, had 6 fingers on one hand.
Oh,
So that's kind of cool. Fun fact for you, Heidi.
what's that, John?
Ernest Vincent Wright wrote a novel, Gadsby, which contained over 50,000 words. None of them had the letter E. So his entire book, Gadsby, there was never a single E in the entire book.
I've heard that before,
I think
but
we
I
talked about
find
that
that
here.
really hard
Yeah,
to
well,
believe. I'll
You
have to
couldn't-
check
you
that
couldn't
out.
say believe because there's an E in that.
Couldn't say really, couldn't say the, couldn't say many words.
That is just bizarre. I don't even know how you do
I'll have
that.
to look at that. I don't know if I believe that.
Speaking of the royals, the shortest British monarch was Charles I, who was 4 foot 9 inches tall. Not a real tall dude. And Elizabeth I suffered... What is this? Oh, she suffered from anthrophobia. You know what that is?
I have no
The
idea.
fear of roses. Never
well,
heard of
that's-
such a thing.
Too bad.
Couple of fun facts for you right here on this St. Patty's Day.
John and Heidi.
This is Richard Lustig, the world's first and only 7-time lottery game grand prize winner. Since I endorsed Lottalicious, I have won something every single draw. They do all the work. You don't have to worry about running to the store to buy your tickets. They take care of all that. So if you're looking for the best way to play the lottery, to give yourself the best chance of winning, go to radiolottopool.com and join today. Again, that website is radiolottopool.com.
John and Heidi.
If you're having trouble sleeping, your herbal supplement might not be doing you any favors, Heidi. Take a listen to this. If you have trouble sleeping at night, this won't help. According to a recent report, many herbal sleep supplements do not contain as much of the key ingredients as they need to be even remotely effective, or nearly as much as the manufacturer claims. Not only that, Consumer Lab says some supplements were tested and they were contaminated with cadmium or with lead, and 2 contained cadmium, which is known to cause cancer and is toxic to the kidneys. Only 4 of the 14 herbal supplements tested proved to be even remotely proved to have the necessary amounts of the key ingredient. We'll just do it that way. So, yeah, they were struggling to find the key ingredients. I was struggling to find the words.
You shouldn't be drinking yet.
I'm not drinking. It's St. Patrick's Day, but I'm not drinking. So, no, not going to happen. By the way, for those of you who are, we're going to talk more about this here in a bit, but for those of you who are going to partake in the festivities today of St. Patrick's Day, because I know not everybody does, but there are a lot of people who, they started drinking early this morning, and, you know, they've been calling. We get that. They've had plenty. Make sure you get a ride. I mean, don't be a knucklehead. If you're going to be drinking today, don't be driving today.
That's right.
I mean, there are a lot of people that want to get you there safe. There are people who do that for a living, taxis and cabs and Ubers and all that kind of stuff.
And I'm sure you have people in your family or your
Yeah.
friends that love
people
you.
who love you, they will pick
that
you
will
up.
gladly
They'll do
take
that.
you.
So don't drink and drive today. That is just a knucklehead thing to do.
Not worth it.
Not at all. Coming up in a bit, we've got some more fun stuff to talk about on the way.
John and Heidi.
Hey, it's John and Heidi inviting you to join us for a party in paradise.
This is a week-long event with 80s music from over a dozen awesome bands.
And 80s movie and TV icons like Anthony Michael Hall, Andrew McCarthy, and several others.
Get all the details at 80sinthesand.com.
Use promo code RADIO to get a $200 immediate refund per person.
We'll even get together to have some drinks with you.
Book your week-long 80s vacation now at 80sinthesand.com.
That's 80sinthesand.com.
John and Heidi.
You ever have a dream where you're in a really crowded place and everybody else has their clothes on, but you're naked?
Yes.
Are you thankful when you wake up and it's just a dream?
Yes.
What if you'd wake up and find out that it was a reality? That's what happened to a dude, a victim of a robbery. Georgi Birbi of Romania woke up in his train compartment to find that all of his clothing had been stolen. But because he was too embarrassed to call for help, he continued on the train for another 100 miles after his stop. Then, dressed only in underwear, he convinced a bus driver to drive him for free another 20 miles, and then he walked home the rest of the way. Robbers took everything from him, even his shoes.
Aww.
He was left with nothing but his underwear and a red face.
Oh, poor guy.
Tidy whities and a red face. That's all he had. That would be, at least he had his tidy whities.
Yeah.
I mean, it could have been even more embarrassing if they would have taken all of his clothing. But who
Poor
would want to steal
guy.
that? I don't understand why you'd want to steal somebody's clothes, but I don't know. To each their own, I guess.
John and Heidi.
Thanks for listening to the John and Heidi Show on St. Patrick's Day. One of Japan's famed bullet trains had to trundle down the track on autopilot for 5 minutes Wednesday while the driver was in search of his hat to avoid breaking company rules. The train continued down the track at lightning speed unmanned while the pilot left the driver's seat to look for his hat after he realized, oh no, I don't have my hat on. Apparently, company regulations say the driver of the bullet train must have their hat on at all times. So he thought...
So apparently the regulations aren't quite as clear about manning the train at all times.
Like watching the wheel and making sure you don't smash
Wow.
into something because they're just cruising. And I mean, honestly, at that speed, if something
You're not
got
going to
in
be
front
able
of
to
him-
stop anyway.
Yeah, I'm sure that's probably what he was thinking.
He's like, whatever.
Yeah, that's
I'm going to
fine.
hit it anyway.
We're going to hit it no matter what. And if I don't have my hat, I could get in trouble. So I've never ridden one of those bullet trains, but I'd like to sometime. I think that'd be kind of cool. Ride the bullet. Coming up, going to talk about the secret to a better golf score. That's on the way.
John and Heidi.
Many people go to college, but when they graduate, they've racked up a ton of debt. Not everyone, though. Matthew Einstein saved over $70,000 on a top-rate education. Then, after everyone wanted to know how he did it, he built a system to show you how to do it too. Learn how you can use this system for yourself or for your kids. Go to freeeducationuniversity.com. Sign up now and get a free 60-minute private consultation with Matthew. That's freeeducationuniversity.com. Use promo code RADIO20 to save 20%.
John and Heidi.
We're not much golfers here. Our father-in-law, my father-in-law, her dad, Charlie, we talked to him on Tuesdays here on this program. He is a very good golfer. He's got numerous hole-in-ones. I've got a couple hole-in-ones as well, but only playing mini golf, so never playing real golf. I just read a story, by the way, that mini golf used to be way bigger than it is now. And when I say way bigger, I don't mean it was more popular. I mean mini golf courses used to be much bigger than they are now.
Really?
Yeah, they used to be like 1/10 the size of a regular golf course, but you still had to tee off, and like you'd have to drive it quite a ways. And for some reason, they started doing basically just putting greens because you don't drive, you use a putter all the time now, but that's not how they always used to be. Anyway, back to this. According to Purdue University, psychologist Jessica Witt says better golfers are more likely to view the hole as a larger hole than their bogey counterparts. Witt and her research team asked 46 golfers to estimate the size of a hole after they played a round of golf. From a poster, they selected one of 9 black holes. So there was a big hole,
Right.
little hole, all different sizes, ranging in size from 3.5 inches up to 5 inches. So they're all pretty close in size.
Right.
In reality, the diameter, by the way, of a golf course hole, if it's an official hole, it's 4.3 inches. Those who selected larger holes had a better score on the course than those who selected smaller holes. So the people who saw the hole as a bigger hole, they got it in the hole more often. Those who saw the hole as just a tiny little hole didn't get in there much. So Heidi's smirking over there. There was a whole lot of innuendo there, wasn't there?
I think that's the way it goes in every scenario, isn't it? If you go for the bigger holes, you're going to have a better chance of scoring.
Would you just...
Right?
Why do I even give you the... I shouldn't talk to her on the radio anymore.
I'm just saying.
All right, coming up, we've got some good news. That is on the way.
John and Heidi.
This portion of the John and Heidi Show is brought to you by the John and Heidi Show. That sounds kind of funny, but it's true. Go to your local radio station and ask them to start carrying the John and Heidi Show. Here's the best part. They can carry the show for free. They play a couple commercials, but it doesn't cost them anything every month. So if you know a radio station that could use a little bit of help, send them our way. Send them to johnandheidishow.com. Again, johnandheidishow.com. We would love to do a radio program in your community. Then you could listen to the podcast and listen to us on the radio.
John and Heidi.
We always try to wrap things up around here with good news, and I have two stories. I'm going to get to both of them here. First one is a 4-year-old girl braved the Siberian winter and the threat of wild animals to walk 5 miles in a bid to save her gravely ill grandmother. She found her grandmother cold and motionless, and Salgana Salch from the Republic of Tuva was sent by her grandfather
That
at
all
6
sounds
a.m.
made up.
no.
Is that even a thing?
I
Republic
probably
of
didn't pronounce
Tuva?
any of it right, but that's what it says.
Alrighty.
So February 8th at 6 a.m., she had to go fetch medical help from the nearest settlement. Undeterred by early hour threat of wolves and temperatures at 30 below zero, the girl found a frozen river and walked for 3 hours to raise the alarm. I've got the story online. You can read all this. This should be made into a movie.
She lives. This place
Yeah.
must be like Siberia.
It is. The Siberian winter.
Oh, it
would
is
be
Siberia.
Yeah.
Oh.
It's in the Republic of Tuva. It's Siberia. And-
I only heard Republic of Tuva, which I've never heard of.
Well, now you know where it
And
is.
why are they living in Siberia? I
Because
can't imagine
that's
there
where
are
they
many
live.
jobs there.
Well, they live in their little settlement and 3 hours away from anything else. And they sent a 4-year-old girl to go get help, which is just crazy. But that's, she was the only one that could do it. Now, here's the other story. I've got that one, by the way, linked on our Facebook page. But here's the other one that I also have there. I think this is really neat. I could see our kids do this. High school senior starts a unique club called We Dine Together Club to make sure nobody at his school sits alone at lunch.
Oh, I love that.
The message is to make outsiders feel accepted all the time. I've got a link to this at our Facebook page as well, facebook.com/John and Heidi Show. I just thought that was a really neat story.
I love that.
Couldn't you see both of our kids do that?
Oh, absolutely.
Our kids were always very interested
Absolutely.
in making sure somebody was, nobody else was sitting with her,
Yeah.
so I was sitting there. I was like,
I think that
that's
is
nice.
wonderful.
Because we'll ask, who's your friend over there? Like, I don't know. He was alone, so I was just over sitting by him.
Yeah, I think that's wonderful.
I think so, too. Hey, time to say goodbye, Heidi.
Goodbye, Heidi.
Goodbye, everybody. Have a great day. Thanks for listening to the John and Heidi Show on St. Patrick's Day.